Good morning, John. Here in my Notes app list of video ideas, nestled between ranking Irish road signs and will computers ever suffer, lies a little video called Am I Cigarettes, which you stole from me. But of course I forgive you for two reasons. One, I've stolen a ton of stuff from you. And second, you did a better job of that video than I would have, not least because I have never smoked a cigarette. I was so scared of addiction as a kid, which is kind of wild considering how I use the social internet, but we're going to talk about that. So you finished your video, which I liked a lot, without any solutions, and then you just dumped that on me. Well, John, you know I've got thoughts. So a quick summary, the idea basically is that the social internet might really be quite bad for people, and at some point you transition from you using it to it using you, the way that cigarettes are basically hacking a human to become a person who uses them. Which is just an amazing business model for some rich guy and a terrible outcome for everyone else. But is this a good metaphor? Is the social internet cigarettes? And since I live so much of my life here and make so much of my content for people here, is it worse than that? Am I the cigarettes that are being sold by the rich guy? So having this metaphor not just be like a thing in my notes app, but something that I spent a little bit of time with, I do think it's probably a dangerous metaphor. I think it's a simplifier. I like simplifiers, but you always have to ask what the simplification obscures. And in this case, I think a lot. I think it would be very easy and it would get a lot of views to have a video that's called we don't use TikTok, TikTok uses us. And that is sometimes true. And it might even result in positive outcomes to make a video like that, because I think we should be thinking about this stuff more. But I think I've landed on a better metaphor that I'd like to share with you, but in the way of Vlogbrothers, where nothing is simple and we have to imagine everything complexly, it takes a little bit of time, I think, to build the case well. So I'm sure that some people argue that cigarettes provide some utility to humans, and I assume almost all of those people make money selling cigarettes, but this is definitely BS. A world where nicotine had simply never evolved would be a better world with less suffering. But the thing that is the core of the social internet isn't nicotine. It's not an addictive chemical that provides no benefit except for making you addicted to it. The thing that is at the core here is information. It's content, for lack of a better term, and I love content. I love books and music and art and cat videos and video essays and podcasts about the history of the Supreme Court and dumb videos about baseball statistics, even though I never watch baseball. So cigarettes cannot be positive, but I think information obviously can be, which is why this metaphor, I think, cannot lead us towards solutions. It isn't a good enough metaphor. And so here's my different metaphor. Let's talk about food. Food, definitely good. Nobody wants a world without food. And for most of human history, the problem was not enough access to food. And honestly, I don't mean most of human history. I mean all of human history up till extremely recently. Malnutrition has likely played a role in more human deaths than any single pathogen or weapon. Scarcity of calories has been the human story for basically the whole time. The whole time. The first American generation that, for the most part, did not have to worry about getting enough food is still alive. Up until the 1940s, food shortages were common. In the 1930s, they were extremely common. In the 1880s, it was unimaginable that they wouldn't happen. So we moved from scarcity to ultra abundance. At this point, we kind of have too much food. And now we're in a society where companies compete to create the most delightful and engaging and inexpensive food possible, which, it turns out, is way better for you than malnutrition, but also creates other problems. If the calories are cheap and they're designed to hack your brain into not realizing you've consumed them, you will eat more food, and it makes sense that companies would optimize for that. If you've got a product on the grocery shelf, and there's a product right next to it that tastes better and that people like more, that's a big problem for you. That's the competition happening on the grocery shelf. So it makes sense that companies are optimizing for that, and it makes sense that I would have a hard time not eating more food than I need while simultaneously not actually getting all the fiber and vitamins and proteins I need. Because they're not optimizing for delivering everything I need to be a healthy person. They're optimizing for what I'm going to buy. I want a Nashville hot chicken all of the time, every meal. But important, very important, a hot chicken sandwich isn't cigarettes, because cigarettes are just a way to get nicotine into your body, while a hot chicken sandwich is mostly food. Now, Coca-Cola, I probably shouldn't go on this digression, but I'm more on the fence about sugar waters. If the food is just 20 lollipops dissolved in bubbly water, that's calories, but it isn't really food, and perhaps I would prefer a world where we just had never thought of the idea of sugary drinks, and yes, that this includes juices. Juice is soda. This is my biggest take. Juice is soda. My point is, there was a time And it was a very long time when we did not have enough food. And now we don't just have an abundance, we kind of have too much, and we have companies competing to make food that is both cheap and super tasty. Hyper palatable, they call it. The result is a lot of people with fairly unhealthy relationships with food and health problems that we've never had to deal with before. And the question has been, how do you solve this? And for a long time, we had the exact wrong idea. We thought that if you gave people information about how many calories were in Doritos, it would make them healthier. If they knew what they were doing, they would do it less. And this is wrong. Nutrition is complex, and no one has any idea how many calories they need to eat or how many calories they eat. Keeping track of that, and I've tried, is like a full-on hobby. Like, it has to be like your first or second priority after work. We know that we did this, and we know that it hasn't worked. I don't think the solution is to deeply understand the chemical and caloric content of a Dorito. I think that everyone who studies this would agree with me. I'm not saying anything revolutionary here. It turns out that the solution is mostly avoiding food that has been designed to be extremely tasty, because when you don't do that, it's very hard to not overeat food. But unsurprisingly, this is difficult, and not just because Doritos and Pop-Tarts taste so good and cost so little. It's hard because having too much food is a very new problem. Like, we are not set up for it. We do not have cultural structures to deal with it. Also, and I know this is a hard thing to internalize, but we don't have as much agency as we would like to think. I really like the elephant rider metaphor, where like our bodies are the elephant and our consciousness is the person like driving the elephant. We all have many situations where we've realized that we would like to go somewhere, but the elephant doesn't want to go that way, and it simply will not. We just can't in that moment stop ourselves from saying the mean thing, from making the bad decision, from finishing the burrito even though you are stuffed full of burrito. But luckily we're cultural, and we build cultural tools when we have to. It just takes a long time. It takes a while for us to get good at worlds that are fundamentally differently shaped than the ones we used to live in. The way that we get better at things when things change isn't entirely clear, but it does seem to happen with food. Part of that is definitely going to be cultural change. Like just having a vibe around ultra-processed foods that feel kind of gross or a little cringe, like something that you would not allow in your home. I was raised on Pop-Tarts. I have not had a Pop-Tart in a long time. I've never stopped wanting Pop-Tarts, but I have not had one in a while. And with food, for people who are already deeply affected, we now have amazing pharmaceutical tools. From what I can see, GLP-1 agonists are basically miracle drugs. Like, I know people will argue with me about that, but it is really great that we have these tools. But I think that the long-term solution will just be a turn away from foods that are engineered to hack our brains, and like a feeling that I don't want to deal with them. Like, I don't want to give them that power over me, and a turn toward foods that are just better for you, that are more food shaped, you know? Now that's not easy. And again, I do think that this isn't just about like hyper palatability being engineered by chemists. I think there's lots of food that's very tasty, that isn't ultra processed, that also has this problem. It's just like too good. And we're humans, we're animals. It is hard to deal with this. But I think that the positive consequences of solving this problem are too large that we won't get there. And I hope that you have followed the metaphor here, because I am now going to open it up for you. For the last millions of years of human ancestral existence, we didn't just live in a world of food scarcity, we lived in a world of information scarcity. You can make the case that the last generation that had to worry about too little information is still alive today, and they are my parents. And now we live in a world of information abundance, almost as if there's too much information, and definitely the people who package up information to sell it to you are competing with each other to make that information more hyper-palatable. And in many cases, the process that makes the information hyper-palatable also makes it worse for you. It makes it easy to only consume information that you like, information that hacks your brain into consuming more of it, information that doesn't contain the vitamins and the fiber and the protein that your brain needs to have a functional, useful model of the world that helps you thrive in your environment. There's lots of like empty calories, which I think are mostly fine. Like, I love myself a video of a guy getting hit in the nuts just after he got hit in the nuts. But there's also stuff that's definitely actively harmful, the trans fats and sugary beverages of the information world, the outrage bait, the conspiracy theories that alienate you from your communities. And just like with the nutrition labels situation, I think it's very easy to think the solution to this problem is, oh, we just need to educate people on what's good and bad and they'll make better decisions. And I think that's wrong. I think that it's a good part of it, but on its own, you will never get someone to fact check a fact that they agree with. Like, the only time the red flag gets raised for the vast majority of people is when the information seems wrong. So when it seems right, why would someone check the fact? You can't check every fact that you come across on the internet. You come across 600 of them an hour. There's too much. And unlike food, where like you make a Dorito and then you try and sell Doritos to everybody, with the internet, we can design an individual personalized Dorito for every single person. And that Dorito can gather information about what they like. And it can morph and change along with that person's interest to make sure that it's always hyper palatable, specifically for that person. And as they fall down a misinformation rabbit hole, that Dorito can keep changing shape until it's worse and worse for you as long as it keeps you eating Doritos. This is wild. It's hard. This is very scary. But it's not cigarettes. Because a Dorito is still food. It's still information. At the core, it isn't just an addictive compound. At the core, it is information. It is something that can be valuable or can be harmful. So I would not prefer to just live in a world where it was never invented. I mean, there are days. But I bet during the Reformation, there were lots of people who felt that way about books. This is hard, and some of the smartest people in the world are employed designing Doritos that will be more and more appealing to you. But I also think that we as biological entities and cultural entities are just at the part of this where we suck at it. And I've actually seen signs that we could maybe be getting better, though it's hard to tell. But we've gone from millions of years of ancestral information scarcity, which by the way could definitely kill you back then, to the first era of information abundance. And a nice thing here is that we have a great metaphor in food. And what have we learned from food? Companies will do everything they can to make things that are very appealing, even addictive. We have less control than we imagine that we have, and giving your agency away a little bit can be fun and rewarding, but giving it away completely isn't just damaging to you and your ability to flourish. It's kind of cringe. Like, nobody brags about the start of their second hour on TikTok. What worked with cigarettes, and I think what is working some with food, is shining a light on the people who want to manipulate us. There's this TV advertisement that was on in Florida when I was a kid, where there's this guy dying in the hospital. Maybe I'll just play it for you. I'm going to describe it, but if I can find it, I'll just play it for you. There's this guy dying in the hospital, and there's all these like suits around him, like professional businessmen around him. And they're saying, oh no, like, how are we going to replace this guy? Like, he was our greatest, most loyal customer. And then the camera like pans to a young person in the hallway of the hospital. That to me is the best messaging. That's what we need. We need to understand that the people and the platforms and the foods that are very good at hacking your brain and taking away your agency, and the creators and the leaders who alienate you from reality so that they can keep control over you, that keep you scared of everything, angry at everything, feeling superior to everyone. Those people are the businessmen in that hospital room. And there are a lot of people who have ended up damaged by those people. And they will always want more customers. And I do think that eventually we will see that stuff not just like junk food, that's like, Doritos are good sometimes, but as so manipulative and cringe and like imagining us as tools to be used. I think that we'll eventually see that. I just think it's going to take a long time. John, the social internet isn't cigarettes, it is food. And a lot of it's junk food. And a lot of it's worse than junk food. It isn't just Doritos. It's making us sick. But a lot of it is nutritious. We have to get better at being able to identify which is which. But it's going to take a lot of time. And I do think there are ways to speed that time up. Like, I remember how successfully we decreased smoking in America. There are things we can do, things we can shine a light on, but I think that the stories have to be much simpler than, here's how you do fact checks and have good information literacy. It has to be a simple story of people trying to manipulate us into being their tools, despite the fact that it's going to make our lives worse. That's what we have to think about. Simple stories. And this was not a good video for simple stories, I'll say. That's not really my area of expertise all the time. There's definitely a TLDR version of this video that's more effective. And I leave that up to everyone else. John, I'll see you on Tuesday. Also, completely unrelated, the Awesome Socks Club warehouse has too many socks in it right now. We always buy a few extra, and then we have too many. And we solve this problem in a bunch of different ways. One, we give them away to charity. We've given away over 50,000 socks. I mean, 100,000 if you count both of them. But we also sell them as mystery socks. You could choose the size, but you don't know the cut or the design you're gonna get, and we'll send you a bunch of them. Your feet need socks. You're gonna have to buy them anyway. You might as well buy them from a place where all the profit gets donated to charity. We're selling these at a pretty substantial discount. I was planning on uploading a different video today, and the coupon code is look at this graph, which would make sense if it were that video. But John, then you made me make this video, basically. So instead, the coupon code is the same. So look at this graph, coupon code, you'll save an extra $5 off the already steeply discounted mystery socks, and there's a link in the description.